Welcome to our GoToMeeting judge training for the 2015 Wisconsin Engineering Design Competition. My name is Patricia Dibert. I am the administrator of this competition. I'm on staff here at Milwaukee School of Engineering, where I serve as a STEM coordinator for the university. I also work as an affiliate associate director for Project Lead the Way. MSOE is the affiliate university for PLTW in the state of Wisconsin. My role as a director is to oversee the biomedical science and launch programs for PLTW. This is the second year that I have been asked to serve as the administrator of this competition. PLTW is the nation's leading provider of K-12 STEM curriculum. PLTW is an activity, problem, project-based curriculum where students drive their learning. Teachers serve as facilitators and guides in the process. Students learn that struggle is a part of learning and that failure is not seen as a stumbling block, but as an opportunity to try again. There are 5 programs of study in Project Lead the Way. Launch is the elementary curriculum where students learn the design process alongside reading, writing, and arithmetic. Gateway is the middle school program which supports 2 foundation courses, design and modeling and automation robotics. There are multiple specialization units to augment the science and technical education curricula. At the high school level, there are 3 tracks: the traditional and well-established engineering track, the biomedical science track, and more recently, the computer science track. Project Lead the Way high school students have the opportunity to take progressive courses in a particular track along with their college preparatory math and science. Each of the high school tracks culminates in a capstone experience where students identify a unique problem and then work with their team and industry mentors using the engineer design process to establish a solution. Students document their work in the Innovation Portal. The Innovation Portal is not unique to Project Lead the Way. Mark will share more of the history in a moment. Any student can use the Innovation Portal for any project. The value is that the Innovation Portal provides a step-by-step documentation process that facilitates a design solution. And that brings us to your expertise and why we have invited you to be judges for this competition. I want to personally thank you for volunteering to be a judge in our competition for high school students across the state of Wisconsin. The competition is open to all biomedical innovation and engineering design and development students in the state of Wisconsin who are currently enrolled in one of the capstone courses. The impetus behind this competition is to give students the opportunity to move yet another high school project from a box in the attic to an opportunity to have their work reviewed by a panel of experts, you, and the possibility of having a feasibility study completed on their portfolio to determine the marketability of their design solution. This competition has been generously financed by Rockwell Automation and supported by the Small Business Development Center and Wisconsin Innovation Service Center housed at UW-Whitewater under the leadership of Mr. Ronald Bud Gayhart. Milwaukee School of Engineering has provided time in my schedule to orchestrate the administrative support needed to offer such a competition to our Project Lead the Way network. This year we have over 190 students registered representing 20 schools across the state. That translates into the potential of 70 portfolios if all registered teams submit. I currently have 46 judges. For your information, today's training session will be recorded and made available on YouTube for future reference. With us today is Mr. Mark Schroll from PLTW National. Mark has been very active in developing the Innovation Portal and can offer some insight into the history. He will then walk us through the scoring rubric, which is embedded in the Innovation Portal, where students have submitted their portfolios. If you have a second screen, you may want to have the GoToMeeting on one screen and the practice portfolio that Mark will direct you to on the second. Then you can navigate as Mark goes through the steps. The judging window is June 15th through July 15th. I would ask that you judge the portfolios based on how well a team has completed the elements of the rubric, not on the idea or problem. How well students can document the design process of their problem solution is what I am asking you to judge. Connected to your evaluation of how well a team has documented their work is scholarship money, as well as the opportunity for a feasibility study by the Wisconsin Innovation Service Center. The competition is based, again, on documentation, not idea. This reflects how well the student team understands the documentation process. Upon completion of your work, I will tabulate the results and personally contact the top teams. This year we will be recognizing our winners at a special ceremony in August. The date and details are currently being defined. I will be sharing the top teams as well as an invitation to each of you to share this special celebration with our teams. Again, thank you for volunteering your time. Without further ado, let me turn the control over to Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Hi, Pat. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. The structure that we have kind of set aside for you about the Innovation Portal is on the screen at the moment. If you have questions, certainly interrupt me at any time. You also have control over your audio on your end. You can mute and unmute. We can play NASA that way. And there's also a chat window at the bottom if you'd prefer to type a question, and I'll keep an eye on the chat window as well. The general idea for today is, as Pat said, I'll give a brief introduction to the Innovation Portal, the problem it was designed to solve. But more importantly, as I guess a visual, this is very similar to being asked to judge a science fair project, except that this is virtual. Rather than coming to a gymnasium, today's session is in place of where we would meet in the judges' room, and you'd all be handed a clipboard and your 3 or 4 assignments, that kind of thing, and told where they would be in the gymnasium, and then we'd spend the day running out and finding your portfolio. So today is about showing you how the Innovation Portal works in principle, how you will be able to access the portfolios assigned to you, how to access the grading resources, the rubric, both online and in print. We'll be sending those to you. And then finally, how do you score? Where's the score sheet online relative to the student's work? How do you submit the scores back to Pat and complete the assignment as a judge? So we'll demonstrate all of that in today's video, or in today's session, and we will be videotaping this so that and as Pat mentioned, putting it on YouTube so you can fast forward and go back and forth through it. Plus, we'll be adding a PDF file, kind of a pictorial step-by-step, if as a resource as well. On the screen, you can see the kind of 8 points that I wanted to make sure to cover today. The first 2 are separated from the others because they're just about getting you connected. Most of you, if not all of you, have already created an Innovation Portal account, and if you have not, we'll need you to do that. That's how we connect you to the Student Works and also to the competition. And I'll walk through that. The only technical issues that we've had so far with any judges is that the Innovation Portal is an online application. It's much more than a web site, so there's all kinds of wonderful programming that goes into making it happen. And the only issues that we found are with older, out-of-date browsers. So you can access you can score from any location at any time. Your work is saved every few microseconds, so if you get called away, you can certainly grade at your leisure and come back. But if you're on a new computer, there is a system inside the innovation portal that comes, as soon as you log on, it checks your browser to make sure that it is within the last couple of years. If it's not, it will tell you how to update that browser on whatever computer you happen to be sitting on. If you wish to check that at any time on your own, there's also another resource that's number one at there, www.whatsmybrowser. It just pings your computer and tells you what version of the browser you're using, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, that kind of thing, or Safari. And it tells you if it's up to date or if it needs to be updated, which is a free thing and takes several minutes to do. That's about it. So number two is we'll talk about creating your own account in the portal, and then 3 through 8 we'll just walk through the. I'm going to pretend I'm you. I'm going to show you what the interface looks like and see what kinds of questions that generates. So the first part of it again is, if you've done this part, forgive me. I just want to make sure that everybody is connected to the competition. The students are out there working on their portfolios and submitting them through June 7th. And at that point, a gate will close and all the portfolios will be in a central location, and then they're in Pat's control, and she will be distributing them to all of you. So our first order of business is to get you all an Innovation Portal account and get you connected to the competition. To do that, these are the steps. If you haven't, create your own account. The Air Force Academy, who was using this at one point, I love this story. Their cadets timed themselves. Why? I don't know, but we now know that it takes an average of 3 minutes and 12 seconds to create an account. It cracked me up. There's your tax dollars at work. They're incredibly efficient at the Air Force Academy, and they wanted to report to me the average time it takes to register. But create an account. When it'll ask you to insert an email address for that account, because email addresses are very unique, and that's how we connect everything together. If you have many email addresses, as many of us do, just take note of the one you use for the Innovation Portal account. That will send you a message. You'll create your account and your password, and you'll be able to log in. It's actually number 3 here that's the most important if you haven't done it already. Once you're able to create an account, you need to send that email to Pat, saying, this is the email that I used, Pat. She will in turn use the system to send you an invitation, and you can accept or decline that invitation. If you accept it, then your account is connected to.
Mark, you're fading in and out.
I am so sorry. Is this any better? Pat, is this better?
Mark, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me, Pat?
Mark, we are not hearing you at all.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
Thank you, judges, for your patience on this little technical difficulty.
Followed by the pound or hash sign. To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash.
Let me mute that 1 second.
Pat, are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent, thank you. I apologize, everybody. I have no idea what happened to my computer audio. We were on for 15 minutes before the session just to make sure everybody was, the technology worked, and sure enough, Merkel Law took over. But this is clear, Pat?
It is clear. What we're seeing is the original screen, and then we are seeing two partial from your screen.
Excellent.
There we go.
Okay. So I apologize, everybody. I'll jump back into where we were. And thank you, Pat, for stopping me and telling me that the audio was dying out. The last thing, if you haven't done it already, once you accept that invitation, it's very, very analogous to connecting a bunch of buckets. It's the analogy Pat and I have used. Her competition dashboard that we provided for her through the Innovation Portal is the large bucket where all the portfolios come. And your connection, creating an account, connecting it to the competition is your personal bucket. And when Pat uses the algorithm we built for her to distribute the portfolios, it randomly distributes and puts the portfolios in your bucket at that point. So if you haven't done this already, this is very important to get done before the students, before the judging begins. This particular animation on the screen that I want to share with you, I wanted to offer how the Innovation Portal works and offer a few key points to remember as judges. Pat made reference to the rubric or the grading rubric around the engineering design process. One of the design requirements of the Innovation Portal itself, we've worked with dozens of universities and hundreds of high schools to set those design requirements. And one of them was what are the attributes of the design process that can be scored. And this became a 4-year study, a National Science Foundation grant led. PI on the grant was from the University of Maryland, College Park, but there were dozens of universities involved. And last years, when you put 200 engineering design professors in a room and say, what's the design process? You get a lot out of that, but there were rubric specialists in the room who took everything that all these people were doing and writing about, put it together, and the rubric that you'll be using is the result of that work. And rubric specialists have taken those works and we formulated them into the language and the Socratic questions that you'll be seeing that were given to the students. But the point here is that the rubric and the questions, the reflective questions that the students were asked to address, they've had since day one. So the same rubric you'll be using to grade is the same one that they've been given, which is exactly how a rubric should be used. So in this animation, the students over there on the left have been using this interface that we'll be showing you to build the portfolios. The portfolios and the structure for the portfolios are very structured. They have a template. So it's, as a judge, the idea was to create a system where you could easily compare one to the other, even though they were taken in totally different schools, totally different teachers, but the structure was the same. So the students have been building portfolios around this rubric. They've been working with their teachers and their mentors to create their submissions. They have registered for the competition. As you heard Pat said, there's over 180 different students from 20 schools that have registered their interest and their intent on forming teams and submitting a portfolio. They've been building since the beginning of the year, and then they have from May 18th through June 7th to submit their portfolios. And when they do, they get their portfolios just right relative to the rubric. They will submit them to the large bucket. Pat will see those come in on June 7th. I think it's in the evening when the clock closes. That becomes the pool of portfolios or the submissions. And then when all the submissions are in and they all look good on Pat's end, she can see them all. As soon as she's ready, she will set an algorithm in the back, and those portfolios will be distributed to all of you. Why that's important from your point of view, we just wanted to let you know you won't be seeing all, if there's 70 submissions, you won't see all 70. You'll see just the ones submitted to you, which is both good and bad. And we understand that, and we'll work out a way. The analogy I gave of being at a science fair is kind of nice because even though you run out into the gymnasium with your 3 or 4 portfolios to grade or projects to look at, you do get some sense of the scope of the competition and even get a chance to look at some of the other that were there. The nice part about being able to do this online at your leisure is that you can start and stop and work over a period of time, but then you don't get to see all of the other or the full scope of the competition. So we will endeavor to try to show you what the rest of the field of competitors look like in some fashion. But the ones you'll see in your account are just the ones assigned to you. Then I also want to offer this. Once those portfolios are assigned to you, there's several ways that you can grade, and we wanted to make this totally available to you. So either one of these descriptions, whichever matches you, the system will support both. One, some judges like to grade a portfolio or score a portfolio completely and then submit the score to Pat. And it would look something like all that Pat will see while you're grading a portfolio is that you are grading it. It would be like in process. And as soon as you submit the scores, they're kind of written in stone. They're not taken away from you. You can always go back and review your works and what you wrote, but as soon as you submit them to Pat, you won't be able to edit them. That's one. Some judges prefer to do one at a time, complete one, submit it, complete another, submit it, that's fine. If you want to work in a different fashion where you want to leave everything fluid till you're ready to submit everything as a group, you can do that as well. You can completely score and make your comments on one but not submit it to Pat. You still have access to it. And then just open the next portfolio and do the same thing. And then open the rest of your portfolio and get them all just the way they want, because we know we've heard from judges before they like to compare and contrast after going through the first one. By the time you get to the third one, there's something in the first one that you may want to refer back to. So if you want to grade in that fashion, get everything set, and then go back and each one and then submit, you can do that as well. And so if either of those models it seems to be the one you'd like to use, it supports both. Finally, I did want to emphasize again that the students have been using the exact same rubric, so it's not new to them. They know what's being asked of them. Pat alluded to the fact that in the rubric, if you run across something in a portfolio, if there is no submission, it's perfectly fine to give it a 0 if they haven't submitted anything in a particular tab of a portfolio. If it's missing, then it's a 0, and the rest of the scores are best fit. And I'll show you that in the example when I jump over to the innovation portal. But the students have been using that rubric. They've been working with their teacher back and forth, trying to say, well, if you put a graph on there, a judge would like to see you explain it, because you're going to need to consider your audience, those kinds of things. And they've been using the language of this rubric that you'll see with their project mentors as well. So they're all gearing up to aim at the competition. And the wonderful thing about the rubric and its history from the NSF and its structure is that if there are more than one competition, the students don't have to reorganize their work for a different competition. If there's a competition hosted on the innovation portal, and this has happened, there are students from Wisconsin who have taken, as a team, submitted the work to the Wisconsin competition and also to a national competition. So they can do that. And then students can create it if they wish. So this last line is a visual representation of some of the resources that we have available for all of you. Including, there's 4, but the 4th will be this video. But off to the left, we'll be sending you if we haven't already, we'll be sending you a PDF version of the step-by-step how to access your portfolios and find the scoring sheet that I'll be showing you. The next 2 have to do with the rubric itself, because we've heard from some judges that though accessing it on the computer is nice, I'd like to have a printed copy of the rubric to go back and forth through. So all the way over to the right, we'll be sending you a PDF file of the entire rubric of all the language. And then I also mentioned reflective questions that the students are presented with. So the middle visual there is also, we'll be sending you a printed version of what's online for the students as well. So you have those on your desk and use the computer to access the student work and the grade sheet if you prefer to grade that way. So we wanted to have all those resources available for you as judges. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to the innovation portal, and I've set myself up as a judge for a different competition, but the interface looks exactly the same. I just want to walk you through it, show you how it's done, and see if there's any questions. But I will pause for a moment. If you do have questions, if you're on mute, you can unmute yourself, or you can enter them in the chat window, and I'll try to answer those as I switch from the PowerPoint to the innovation portal. So please send your questions.
Mark, everyone should have received the step-by-step guide along with their invitation to the GoToMeeting.
That's excellent, Pat. Okay.
And then I also sent to them the reflective questions and rubric score descriptors. After this meeting, I will send the complete scoring rubric so that they have a PDF copy of that.
All right. What I heard is that you guys have the most organized competition administrator in the bunch. She's way ahead of the game. So that's excellent, Pat. Thank you. All right. So we'll jump over to the innovation portal. When you get to the main page, innovationportal.org, you get this series of slides. If you want to learn more about the portal and its history, I'll circle it on the screen here. These little go-to slides will show you an example of who's using the portal. We have students from grade 6 all the way up through postdoctoral students documenting their work and sharing it and collaborating and things. And you can have a sense, if you want to learn more about the portal, you have some of that information there. But when you go to the portal and log in, I want to draw your attention to the fact that one of our other design requirements were, we thought when we started this project that we would be making judges' accounts and teacher accounts and students' accounts, and that was totally the wrong direction to go, we found, because especially at the university level, we found that people play many different roles. So on the innovation portal, there's just an account. You have the same account as the students that you'll be reviewing. And why that's important to this training section is when you log into the innovation portal, it defaults to the portfolio page. In the upper right-hand corner, it says My Portfolio. If you're new to the innovation portal, it'll just say you don't have any portfolios and here's some resources to get started. The reason for mentioning that here is that that's where the most of the users goes. The default page goes to the assumption that you want to build a portfolio, and as a judge, this isn't where you need to be. So it will default to this My Portfolios page over here on the left, but as soon as you log in, you'll need to jump down here to Opportunities. The word opportunities as opposed to competitions, side note, was chosen very carefully because we have groups that anything that a project like this can be reviewed for. We have groups that offer high school students paid internships in the summer, and there's a prize and there's no scholarship. There's a job at the end of this, but those companies want to find out, could students submit this work as part or in place of their application for some of those summer internships. So competition, the word competition wouldn't have fit, so opportunities was a bit more broad. In this case, when you click on opportunities, right now it jumps you to and I'm going to circle this with the cursor, it defaults to the current opportunities. These means the ones that are currently in play for students to be able to submit their work to. And you can see the Wisconsin competition is here. Why I paused is that by the time judging turns around, it will actually jump over into something called past opportunities. This is the most unintuitive part of this, and we are talking to our designers to find a better way to get judges here, but I just wanted to tell you that when you click opportunities, it'll take you to the current opportunities, but by the time you get here, the Wisconsin one will actually be under the past opportunities. So I've just clicked the past button, and as you can see, that these are the competitions that are just ahead of you. The Conrad Spirit of Innovation one was an international competition held on the innovation portal. There were Wisconsin students who submitted to that. Kansas City, Illinois had the Illinois competition ended yesterday. So all of these are coming into play based on their due dates. But yours, the Wisconsin competition, will be in the past opportunities. For this example, I've clicked past. I've made myself a judge for the National Science Foundation scoring workshop here. It'll look similar to this. So if you could insert Wisconsin in the Wisconsin Design Competition, that's how you get there. You log in, click opportunities, click past, and then you click on the Wisconsin competition. When you get to the Wisconsin competition, insert Wisconsin up here, you'll, because you're a judge and you're connected, you'll get this menu bar. It's unassuming, but it is very important. The word reviews here, I'm going to click that, and when you click that, reviews, the system knows that you're connected to the competition, and this is your bucket, if you would. You'll see, as you see my name here, you'll see your name, And you see that I have 48 portfolios. If Pat gives you 48 portfolios, you can send her a very terse letter. You won't have 48, but I wanted to show you what the interface looked like. So it'll say how many you completed. It'll be a fraction. It should start off with 0 out of 3 or 4, whatever your, however many Pat sends you. And then I want to, each of the ones that are put in your bucket to grade will be listed there. I want to draw your attention, if I may, to the word complete here. This is an indication for you as a judge. The word complete means I have submitted this to the competition administrator. It means I've gone through the process I'm about to show you and physically submitted it. So I'm going to come down here to, pardon me for making you dizzy. Let's see, go down to this one called Enlighten Lock. It has the word active in front of it. All of yours at the beginning will be, and then to access the portfolio, I'm just going to click on the title, and then it takes you to the group's portfolio. At this point, I want you to draw your attention to the right-hand side of the screen where you see a number of letters over there. Let's see if I can a little bit. The visual is, imagine a 3-ring binder being placed with the cover closed. That and the little tab sticking out the side. This is the same interface the students used, so that gives it the structure, so it makes scoring and reviewing easier. The portfolios themselves, as I mouse over, I'm not clicking anything, I'm just hovering the mouse over each one of these element tabs, is what the rubric specialists call them. But the first place it defaults is the cover page. There's nothing to grade here, but typically students will put a picture of themselves, a background description of their project title, their names, things like that. You can certainly access that information, but to let you know that it defaults to the cover page, and there's nothing to score here. It's just for you to review. When we mouse over letter A, I'm going to click on letter A here, and you can see that it's stuck because the tab stayed blue, and it also wrote the element title here. This is where the students were asked to put their presentation and justification of their problem. And I'm going to have a wheel mouse in front of me. I'm just going to scroll down, and you can access this and zoom in and zoom out of it. What I'd like to show you now is online how to access the rubric descriptors, or the descriptors for this particular element. I will tell you that as you are looking at the left-hand side, the elements, some of the elements are very quick to grade, some take a little bit longer. They're not on. Typically, our judges report back that the first portfolio they grade, because they're going through it and getting used to the system, takes about 50 minutes to an hour, and then after that they average about 45 minutes, maybe less, depending on what the students have submitted. So here's, as I mouse over tab A, this little window pops out to the right, and there's a lot of information here for you as a judge. So I'm going to walk through A rather slow, but the whole process is actually quite quick. But I want to share it with you. As we mouse over A, what jumps out, just like the students, is the descriptor. So here's the rubric descriptor from the National Science Foundation that asks, this is what we're looking for. It defaults to the score descriptor for a 5. This is what I'm not choosing a score here. I'm just able to access the rubric itself. The score descriptor for a 4 is slightly different, 3. And the rubric specialist told us to think of this as a staircase. Their job was to take what all those professors put in as descriptors for scoring and grading and make them look like a staircase. So the difference between a 5 and a 4 is the same difference between a 4 and a 3 on down to a 0 as you stair-step down. And though some of the verbiage will be repeated, you'll see that what's being scored, what's being looked at is becoming less and less refined, all the way down to, and you can score 0. So these are one way to access the descriptors for the rubric if you prefer to access it online instead of the PDF version. The other thing I promised you was some questions derived, some reflective questions for students derived from this rubric. And they're up here on just above the element rubric. It said, did you offer the reviewers of this portfolio? And there's a little down arrow. And we found that these are very helpful for judges, or it's been reported that judges like these questions just as much as the students and teachers. in essence, this is kind of a checklist saying if you are doing these bullet points, you're getting closer and closer to that 5. Things like you might expect as a judge: is the research that you're presenting, is it recent relative to the problem, or is it from 10 years ago and not so relevant? Is it from more than one source? Those kinds of things. So these are the reflective questions that you can use to zero in on a score. These are the score descriptors. And I want to show you one more resource. You don't have to use it, but as I mentioned, over the last 4 years, as part of the NSF research and the inter-rater reliability studies and all that on the rubric, we've been pulling, with student permission, portfolios from the innovation portal for about 3 years and putting them in front of graders all over the country. And when dozens of professors and experts see a 3 and say, this is what a 3 looks like, we are allowed to take that piece of information and put it back on the innovation portal as both a teaching tool and also a kind of a resource for, if you would. I wanted to show you where those were. They're down here, where it says scored element examples. If you want to see an example of a 5, a 4, 3, I'll just click 3 here. We'll come down here and I'm just going to show you that these are here just for your benefit. You don't have to use these. But as I clicked that example, it downloaded a PDF file. It did not take me away from the portal. It just opened a new tab at the top. So I'm going to jump back over. But if I want to see what a 3 looks like, here is the summary from a number of judges who scored this and found it to be a 3. They talk about the summary of why it's a 3 and not a 4, and not a 2, those kinds of things, where it fits in the whole process. There's the entire descriptors 5 through 0, though it seems like a lot of words again, and a lot is repeated, as you might imagine. Contextual, I want to share this with you. This project is a nice one. If you live in the northern climates, it turns out that the LEDs that we're putting in, replacing the bulbs in stoplights and signal lights that are supposed to save municipalities a lot of money, in the northern climates are actually costing them a lot more money. Not in electrical costs, but it turns out that the incandescent bulbs that were behind those red, yellow, and green lenses, the heat that they were giving was enough to keep off sleet and snow and things from building up on the lenses. So because LEDs produce almost no heat, they accumulate, and this group found lots of this problem. So to justify that to you as a judge, this group stated their problem. They cited accident reports and articles that they found. Here's from the New York Times in 2010, 2009. This group also cited some engineers that they spoke to, some conversations. Here's one from Wisconsin. They tried 2 different products so far, but nothing has helped. So they're actually spending more money sending trucks and employees out to clean the lenses from the lights than they're saving from the electricity. As it turns out, if you have a solution for this, then there's a house in Malibu waiting for you, it seems. And then I'll scroll down. There's a picture of a nice picture of the issue that this group was trying to solve. So what they submitted here, relative to the comments on top, is a resource for you to say, well, this is what many people look like, and you can extrapolate that back to what you're looking at. Again, I've slowed the whole training down just to let you know that those resources are available as an instructor or as a judge. So what we've done so far is I've shown you how to access the identifiers for the rubric. This is, again, choosing a score here. We haven't opened the score sheet yet. It's my next thing to show you. But the questions the students had in front of them as a judge, you need to know that they had all of this, and including these examples available to them to help make the best possible for all of you. Okay, so that's how you. Now I want to show you the score sheet. And if you'll draw your attention to the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see an icon that looks like a pen quill. I'm going to click on that, and it opens the score sheet. And this is just for judges. Students wouldn't see this. or if their teachers are scoring in their class, they would see this as well. I've got a wheel mouse again in front of me, and the work goes up and down behind the screen. So you can leave the sheet open. That was an exercise in screen real estate. If the scoring sheet is in your way, you can close it, read again, and then open it. And this is where you actually choose a score. And the scores, this is a very important note, the scores are best fit. In other words, as you access, as you read this and you want to see the descriptors for number 2, again, you could look at them here, or you can click this little plus button and it will pull up a floating rubric that you can move around. Again, this is nice if you have multiple screens, but if you're doing this on a laptop, it may be too much. Again, why we're sending you the PDF files. But as you go back and forth, let's say we're looking at this particular example and saying, you know, this looks like a 3. They've done enough to easily make a 2. Not everything for a 3, but it's closest to a 3, and it's definitely not a 4. So again, best fit for this one for us is a 3. So I like a 3, so I'm going to choose a 3 over here. In this comment section down here, I'm going to show you my amazing typing skills and type some gibberish. You can make some comments down here about why it's a 3 and not a 4 if you'd like. What do you think the teams could have done better, or if they've done something that impresses you, you can put it there. It's not required to add a comment. You can simply score and move on. But as I mentioned before, if I got called away at the moment, the program has been saving every microsecond, so I can just shut the whole computer down, walk away, pull it up on another computer at another location, and continue if I would like to. So that's how you score A. We're going to score. I'm going to put another score in here for letter B. I'll just jump in. Say they scored a 2. Again, I will type the letter G all the way across because there's something I want to show you in terms of the summary page. So we've just scored A and B, and those same resources are available for letter B. But I do want to draw your attention to letters M and N. Letters M and N are holistic grades. So I want to make this point. The students will only be submitting artifacts to you to look at and to read, to grade, charts, graphs, in letters A through L. Letters M, if you look at the rubric or when you do get time, really are talking about, as a whole, if you, the intent was, could somebody else pick up this portfolio and continue this work where you left off? Was there enough information that explained the problem that the project was documented well? When you click on M, it will actually say there's no content available. The students haven't done anything wrong, but in order to keep the process the same, there's still a score sheet, so we're going to give them a 4, say they've done a really good job relative to the rubric. And we'll score N. N is entitled Writing Like an Engineer. In this one, the intent is if students used acronyms and charts, did they jump to my next portfolio and do the same thing? This is what the interface looks like. However, I would now like to show you that's how you access the score sheet, enter score, enter comments if you wish. But I'd like to show you now to submit a score to Pat. If you draw your attention to the top of the screen, there is something that says Complete Review. And this is analogous to shopping online at Amazon. It gives you a summary page. And this is why I typed the letters G and things. You can see there's the score for number 3. There's the score I gave it for element B and my comments. This is a great place as a judge. If you see any question marks, it means you didn't put a score there, and so it will default to a 0. You might want to go back and jump back into the portfolio, use the back button, and go back and score letter D if there's a question mark there, or if these scores are not what you remember giving, it gives you a chance to go back. Again, very fluid. But as you review all of the scores that you put in, if there's my score of a 4 for letter N, 3 for letter N, if that all looks as it should, this is all there is to submitting a score to Pat. We'll come back down here. It says after completing, if you hit the complete review button, it won't be taken away from you. As long as you have your Innovation Portal account, you'll have access to this work as a judge and to go back and look at your work and how you scored it. You'll also have access to the summary up here. You just won't be able to edit it anymore. And that's all this statement says. So I'm going to click that and say, I understand that. And if I hit complete review, what would happen is just these words at the bottom would be taken away. I will get a success. Your scores have been submitted, and then you can just jump back into opportunities and the competition again, and your reviews. Jump back down there. I didn't actually submit the score. I just wanted to show that to you. But what would happen then is that particular portfolio would have changed from complete to active. Zip down here, I think it was number 31 in this case. It's still active because I didn't push the submit button, but the reason I brought you back to this page is that this again is your bucket. If these three portfolios, number 30, 31, and 32, were the ones assigned to me, it's just a quick check for me. I can always go back, look inside. If I see complete, 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 I know that Pat has everything she needs from me, and my job is done if those are my portfolios. So that was a kind of a demonstration of relative to the science fair analogy I gave at the beginning, where your clipboard is, how you get your scoring sheets, so what the interface looks like online. How do you access the rubric both online and in print? How do you access the scoring sheet, which is only online? How do you enter your scores and comments if you wish? And how you submit a score to Pat. So this will look the same for all of you. So I'm going to jump back over to the PowerPoint again. That was what we were trying to show in the judges training session. The reason I jump back to this slide is if you have any questions about the rubric, about the interface, technology issues, I want to make sure that you have my email. And if you have questions about the competition, about the prizes, about the culminating event, and those all go to Pat. It's her competition. So with all of that in play here, I would like to pause and again open the floor to any questions you might have. The most polite group of judges in the whole planet right there. One thing I'll offer is that we've endeavored to try to make this training session very clear, and possibly I haven't generated any questions yet, but if you do once you get into the system and working it, if the resources we provided for you just are not helpful, please write and we will respond as we can. We'll be Pat and I are here to make sure that your experience as a judge goes smoothly. I guess I do have a question here. How many times given portfolio be scored? That's is the question. For those of you who are looking on the chat session, Virgil, that's a great question. Pat, do you have any sense of that? That's entirely in your control.
Most of my judges have told me that the first one takes them a little over an hour, and then once they get in the groove, roughly 45 minutes per portfolio.
The question actually was, how many times will a given portfolio be scored? In your estimation, will a portfolio, the scores are average? It's an excellent question. So if I'm on a team and I submit my portfolio to you, how many judges will be looking at it? Do you have any sense of that?
My goal is to have every portfolio judged 5 times.
So, Virgil, the score Pat will get her dashboard is somewhat of an automated spreadsheet, if you would. She gets up to wake up in the morning and have some coffee and turn on her computer. And as judges send in scores, the scores are immediate. Higher scores float to the top, the lower scores float to the bottom. So your scores will be averaged in with what sounds like at least 4 other judges. Another question came from Mary. Can you review again how to complete these reviews one at a time? Yes. Mary, to complete the reviews one at a time, let me walk back into Enlighten Lock. I'm going to what I've done here is I've opened my account. I'm just accessing this portfolio. If you remember in the demonstration, I haven't submitted anything yet. So let's pretend that I've stepped away or created another portfolio. I can come back to complete review, and if I scroll down to the bottom, this radio button that's telling me that I wish to complete this review, so I understand it'll be taken away from me in complete review. I can do that. If I wanted to wait, if we were in the timeline, if I was, okay, I kind of graded one portfolio, but I'd really like to jump over to another portfolio, then as long as I don't push these buttons on the bottom, Mary, I can jump over to opportunities again, or I can use the back button, past. I can jump back into my competition. Apologize for the couple of ways to get there. And reviews, and I can just open up another portfolio and do the same thing, and just basically leave it active. So I can jump into humidity issues on Guam, and then the same routine follows here. I can go to letter A, give that a score of 2, type whatever I want, and again, it's saving as I go. There's no save button, and I can review the complete review, but as long as I don't click the buttons at the bottom, all Pat sees is that my portfolios are in process. So hopefully answering your question, now when I feel comfortable about if these were my 2 portfolios, the ones I just kind of showed you on the screen, now I would jump back in, jump to, let's go back, and if I liked this one the way it was, I could click I understand and complete review, but then again I would go back into, I think the most direct way is the opportunities, back right into the competition and through the reviews button. Again, the one about the light around the lock system, number 31 that we were looking at in this example, is down here. Sorry to make you dizzy. And then I could open that one. I just open the portfolio again, and then come up here to complete review. Again, review everything I've done. I left it fluid, say, for a couple of days, and then come back in and click I understand and complete review. And as long as I use I understand and complete review on each of the ones that are assigned to me, the tag will change from active to complete, and Pat will be able to see your scores. I hope that answers your question, Mary. If it doesn't, please either tell me over the audio or send it in the chat window. The next question in the chat window is also from Virgil. Virgil asked this question: are you able to see the other judges' scores? The answer is no. You're only able to see your own scores. That was one of the design requirements we were asked. Again, that Pat gets to see very much like the Wizard of Oz. Pat is in the Land of Oz over at MSOE. She gets to see everything, every score, every comment, and then she is in control of all of that. But being able to access what each other is doing at the moment or during the session is very much like the science fair where you're out with your own clipboard and submitting them into a central location. And then once all the scores are in, Pat can decide how to disseminate all that. So during the judging process, you won't be able to see the other judges' scores yet. And John, what should be done if we see a conflict of interest? John, can you expound upon that? I'm not sure what you mean by a conflict of interest.
I'll turn on the microphone then.
Yes,
if we see or recognize a project that is from a school or where we have students or have relatives, do we notify Pat, or do we just, how do we do that?
That's an excellent question.
I assume we should not be judging something where we, again, there could be either an economic conflict of interest, any type of conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation, John. So what we can do is the process for disseminating portfolios is automatic, but we have a manual system where, John, if you see something like that, or any of you see something like that, we are able to assign that portfolio. We can switch back and forth manually. So I could ask Scott, hey, Scott, we found a conflict of interest. May I take this portfolio from you and give it to John, and give one of John's to you? We can see that you hadn't started it already. So we can manually reassign portfolios from the automated process to overcome that conflict. So the answer to your question is most certainly, if you see something like that, let Pat know, and then I will work with Pat to reassign portfolios so that there's no conflict. Good
Thank
question.
you.
Yes, sir. Mary writes, do we save as we go, or does the system autosave? The system does autosave. It saves every few microseconds as you choose anything, and nothing is written in stone until you physically push the complete button. So good question. Are there other questions, either in the chat window or if you'd like to jump on the audio? Perfectly fine. It's a good question.
Hi, this is Emily Mason. I was just going to make a comment actually about the scoring, and I did this last year, and it was really helpful when I went to go do the actual scoring that I did it section by section and looked at each project side by side, so that I was making consistent judgments about kind of which was the strongest and which was, you know, not so strong, rather than go through and score every section for a single project and then move on to the next before submitting.
Oh, that's an incredibly good idea. So you just like looked at A across the board first, and then B.
Yeah, I did. Yep, I did kind of I reviewed each one, but then when I went to do the scoring, I looked at A across the board, made my decisions, and moved on to the next section for for all the projects at once.
Excellent advice, and Emily, if you don't mind, I'm stealing that and writing that down, and we'll add that to the other ways judges have been working.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Mark, this is Virgil. Can you speak to the rubric one more time about if you have something that meets all the criteria for a 2, obviously it's at least a 2. If it doesn't meet all the criteria for any of the criteria for a 4, obviously it's not a 4. But what about those things like where it meets some of the criteria? Does that mean it's considered for that score, or does it need to meet most of the criteria? At least one of the elements. Well, how do you draw that line?
Thank you. Yeah, generally, it's the rubric specialist is judging teachers in a classroom, any kind of portfolio work like this. The rubric specialist from the NSF has been doing this for 30 years. Their advice to us is always the best fit. Again, there is a judgment call. The purpose of the rubric is to try to remove as much subjectivity as possible, but there's zero chance of doing that 100%, if you would. So relative to, say, the number 3, as you mentioned, if most of it's there, the components are there for a 3, it's again almost like an eye exam. Better, worse, and it's clearest, it's closest to a 3. It may not all be there. Then you'll score it as a 3. If it's only if in your opinion relative to the rubric and those data points on the reflective questions, that it's only barely barely works its way into a 3. All the components are for a 2, but barely into a 3. Then its best fit is probably a 2. This is the reason all the inter-rater reliability around the rubric has been going on and still going on. So it's a bit of a judgment call on your end to relative to the element you're looking at. So if I showed some signs of getting into a 3, but it's just the major pieces of the 3 are not there, then give it a 2. There's no way to give it a high 2, which would be an easier way to answer your question. But again, best fit then it's. All right, Pat. It looks like I've ran everybody about a little bit over the 11 o'clock ending time frame. Do you have any last-minute comments for everybody? And then again, I'll post my email and things, and I'll stay online for if anybody has questions.
Well, I want to thank everyone who has given their time this morning. I will follow up with a PDF of the scoring rubric. I will also provide a link to the YouTube video, and then when your portfolios or when your buckets start getting filled with portfolios, I will send a reminder email that your bucket is full and ready to begin work. The advice from judges from last year, I think Emily hit on that. The judges judged everything before they submitted anything, because once you submit, you can't go back and change. So that was one piece of advice that some of the judges shared with us last year. Again, the judging window is June 15th to July 15th, and I would ask that you judge the portfolios based on how well the team has completed the elements of the rubric, not on the idea or problem. And again, thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a good day. I'll leave this channel open if any of you have last-minute questions. But thank you for your time.